Good evening, everyone. I'm Meteorologist Hannah Messier with KCRG. Thanks for joining us on YouTube for our update. We're going to go ahead and start. So our forecast for this storm, we're going to start off with your first alert. Your first alert is highlighting ice, snow, and wind with this particular system. Ice highlighted because we have freezing rain likely, which could cause dangerous travel starting out early tomorrow morning for your morning commute, and then continuing past 9 a.m. and then into the afternoon with dangerous travel likely also during your evening commute. So we're also tracking snow with this system. The snow is going to really stay in our far northeastern counties. We're going to continue to have that snow past 9 a.m., getting heavier during the afternoon, continuing during the evening, and even into the overnight hours. And another thing we're watching with this system is wind. Gusts up to 40 miles per hour are going to be possible with this system. So really the winds are going to pick up afternoon and then continue through the evening and into the overnight. Rain, also something we're watching. The rain is really going to stay to the south. So when we think rain, we think south of Iowa City, south of I-80. This is going to continue through the morning, also into the afternoon and evening. Just to give you an idea of where we're expecting this precipitation. Snow is going to be again in that northern area, northeastern Iowa, including northern Fayette counties and two Winneshiek and Allamakee counties as well. And then that mix, that potential for wintry mix and freezing rain. That's pretty much between Highway 20 and I-80. So everywhere shaded in that peachy orange color. That's where we're expecting that mix, and that's also the area where we're watching for the potential for that freezing rain and ice. And then the green area south of Iowa City, that's where we have rain expected across eastern Iowa. So if you are inside that orangey peach area, that's what we're talking about for the freezing rain. All of this is because of a low pressure system that is going to move into Iowa as we head into the next several hours. This low pressure system is going to be situated over Kansas at around 10 p.m., but it is going to move off to the northeast, and this is the low that's going to be causing all of our precipitation chances for Wednesday into Thursday. And we're not the only ones dealing with this storm. We've got winter weather alerts pretty much for the entire Midwest. Blizzard warnings up by Minnesota into Minneapolis. Also seeing blizzard warnings up by the Dakotas, and that winter storm warnings also in effect for Nebraska and advisories in Nebraska. But let's take a little bit of a zoom in on our area. We have the winter storm warnings in effect for Winneshiek and Allamakee counties. Then south of those areas, that's where we have the ice storm warnings, pretty much north and along Highway 20. One thing to mention though, just because you are not inside that ice storm warning doesn't mean you couldn't see ice. So even people inside that advisory could see ice accumulations for Wednesday. We've been seeing a lot of questions about that. Just because you're not in the ice storm warning doesn't mean you won't see ice. Ice is possible inside that advisory as well. And we're also, again, seeing that warning up in northeastern Iowa. That is what we're seeing for snow potential as well. Now, let's time everything out. Tonight, pretty quiet. Then as we head into Wednesday morning at 6 a.m., we start to see the mixed precipitation and the snow start to pop up. 6 a.m., it looks pretty scattered, but you are still going to want to be cautious if you're planning on being on the roads that early. Then as we head through the morning, by noon, we start to see the precipitation really envelop much of eastern Iowa. Mixed precipitation between Highway 20 and I-80. And then we'll have the snow north of Highway 20, and then further off to the south, the rain. That heavy rain, that heavy precipitation and freezing rain continuing through the afternoon. Now this is 6 p.m. This is your evening commute. Also seeing that mixed precipitation along I-380 all the way from Waterloo down to Iowa City, with snow north of Highway 20 and rain south of Iowa City. Now, one thing to mention is, again, if you don't have to be out on the roads tomorrow, it's going to be a good idea not to be out on the roads because of these travel impacts. Just a little ice could infect the travel, so major impacts could be possible for Wednesday. Getting into Wednesday night, starting to clear out, but still isolated to scattered chances for precipitation possible Wednesday night and into the morning on Thursday. But by noon on Thursday, things should be pretty quieted down by noon on Thursday. Winds from the northwest, still seeing that mostly cloudy sky. And we did mention snow, so that snow really going to stay along and north of Highway 20. Trace to 1 inch possible in that Highway 20 air corridor. Further off to the north, 1 to 4 inches possible in places like Fayette and Prairie du Chien. And then in our far northern counties, far northern Winnebago and McKee counties, close to the border with Minnesota, that's where we're forecasting 4 to 8+ inches of snow. But the further south you are, the less likely you are going to see actual snowfall. Now let's move on to the ice accumulations. So we could see 1/10 of an inch to a quarter of an inch to up to 0.4 inches of ice in this area that we have highlighted. The darker colors indicate higher likelihood of seeing ice accumulations. These could cause isolated tree damage. We could see isolated power outages from this too. If you are anywhere inside that shaded area on this ice accumulation map, really should potentially expect major travel impacts. You're going to want to be very cautious if you are going to be out on those roads for Wednesday. So again, if you don't have to be out, definitely take it slow. Don't go being out. This is why we have freezing rain in our atmosphere. So we've got a couple of layers of different temperatures as we go up through our atmosphere. So at the top of the atmosphere, close to the clouds, it starts out as snow because it's a little bit colder. But when in a freezing rain scenario, the middle of our atmosphere actually has a warm layer. So in a layer of it that's warmer, that causes the snow to melt into rain as it comes down. Then, as that rain gets closer to the Earth's surface, we have a layer of cold close to the Earth's surface that causes the rain to refreeze, and it turns to ice once it hits the roads and the Earth's surface. So that's really what we get with freezing rain and why ice is such a big deal in these types of scenarios. I also mentioned wind was going to be a factor in this. We could have gusts up to 40 miles per hour possible. Wednesday at 9 a.m. already seeing winds coming out of the east up to 31 in Cedar Rapids. We could see gusts 36 in Fayette, still seeing those high winds as we get through the afternoon into the evening. High winds are going to be possible, dying down a little bit as we head into the overnight hours, but still high wind gusts up to 29 miles per hour in the Cedar Rapids area. So now let's go over to Thursday. We can see Thursday still high winds possible, 20 to 30+ miles per hour, but things start to die down wind-wise on Friday. Now we're going to take a look at some of our viewer questions. So Elliot from Waverly has asked to see pinpoint futurecast, so we're going to go over pinpoint futurecast one more time here. And one thing to mention with showing pinpoint futurecast is that we're really focusing on that starting in the morning and then continuing as we head into the afternoon. So here is Wednesday at 6 a.m. We've got that isolated scattered chances for the wintry mix and snow flurries. Then it starts to increase as we head towards the mid to late morning into noon. By midday, we've got mixture of rain and snow, freezing rain in that pink highlighted area from Highway 20 down to I-80, and then continuing to see the heavier precipitation as we get through the afternoon into the evening, 6 p.m., still seeing icing possible on the roads. Then as we head through Wednesday night into Thursday morning, a little bit quieter, but you can't rule out the chance for isolated flurries and isolated chances for showers. All right, our next question is from Linda. Linda says, hi from Iowa Falls. Hello to you, Linda. Then we have Hal from Rhinebeck. So how does freezing rain form? We'll go over that again. Freezing rain typically forms because at the top of our atmosphere, we've got the snow crystals, and we've got snow that's falling down from the clouds. Then in the middle parts of our atmosphere, we will have an area of warmer air. And as our snow falls, we're going to see that snow melt through that warm layer and it changes to rain. But close to Earth's surface, we've got just enough cold air to refreeze that rain and return it into ice once it hits the roadways. And that's what we'll likely see for tomorrow with this situation with our atmosphere inside that inside that freezing rain potential. So Ted from Cedar Falls wants to know when the ice storm will end. So that we already mentioned that a bit in Pinpoint Futurecast, but we'll go back to Pinpoint Futurecast. So we're going to move into Wednesday morning, still seeing the chances for that heavier precipitation possible, increasing across eastern Iowa. Then Wednesday evening, still seeing that chance for some heavy precipitation in spots. Then overnight Wednesday by 10 p.m., much of that heavy precipitation out of eastern Iowa, still seeing the flurries close to the Iowa-Minnesota border with isolated chances for those scattered showers, isolated chances for the snow and the wintry mix. Then, as we head into the day on Thursday, looks like it should start to really clear out by mid-Thursday morning into Thursday afternoon. So thank you so much for sending in that question, Ted. All right, now we've got another question from Hillary in Independence. Hillary wants to know if she should salt her driveway before the storm. So that is something to consider. That is something that you certainly could do, is salt that driveway, because salt will actually change the freezing point of the water that falls onto your driveway, and it causes it to freeze at a much colder temperatures, so the salt will actually help a little bit out with that. So salting your driveway, not necessarily a bad idea overnight tonight. And we have another question from Jeffrey. Jeffrey is from Decorah. Jeffrey wants to know how much snow is expected. So much of eastern Iowa, not going to get much in terms of snowfall accumulations, but close to Highway 20 and north, that's really where we're expecting the chances for snow. So a trace to 1 inch expected along Highway 20, so by Waterloo, Manchester, Dubuque, 1 to 4 a little bit farther north in places like Fayette and Prairie-du-Chien, and in our far northern areas close to the border with Minnesota, 4 to 8 plus is possible in cities like Decorah and in counties like Winneshiek and Allamakee. All right, now we're going to go to Darren from West Branch. Darren wants to know if he will need a generator for tomorrow's storm. So isolated power outages can't be ruled out with the potential for ice, especially if you are close to Highway 20, but anywhere inside that chance for ice accumulation, you can't rule out the chance for a potential power outage. So having your generator ready might be a good idea. Thanks so much to Darren for sending in that question. All right, Kelly from Marion asks, is it safe to go out driving tomorrow afternoon? I would say no. Do not go driving out tomorrow afternoon if you don't have to. With ice possible across eastern Iowa, it is going to be pretty hazardous. Even a little bit of ice can really cause major travel impacts. So inside this shaded area with the darker colors indicating a higher potential for ice, very slick roads are expected. So you're really not going to want to go out on the roads tomorrow afternoon if you can avoid it. All right, Mary from Mount Pleasant asks if Mount Pleasant will get snow. So Mount Pleasant is a little bit farther to the south. So in our snowfall accumulations forecast, we see that we're not expecting that snow pretty much south of Highway 20, Mount Pleasant, way to the south of Highway 20, south of I-80. You're not expecting any snow there. The snow is really along and north of Highway 20. All right, Eric from Dubuque wants to know how much snow Dubuque is going to get. So as we can see on that snowfall forecast, a trace to 1 inch is expected in the Dubuque area and in Manchester and Waterloo, but I want to highlight Dubuque is inside that ice storm warning. Ice accumulation is going to be possible in Dubuque along with that snow, and the ice is really what you're going to want to pay attention to for tomorrow's system in Dubuque rather than necessarily the snow. So be very cautious, expect major travel impacts in Dubuque. All right, Rick from Cedar Falls wants to know when the storm is going to start. So we're going to go back to Pinpoint Futurecast, and we are going to go to late tonight into Wednesday morning. Wednesday at 6 a.m. we can see that isolated to scattered chances for mixed precipitation and snow. That is going to continue to increase throughout the mid to late morning. So by noon, all of eastern Iowa is going to be seeing some kind of precipitation, mixed and freezing rain expected between Highway 20 and I-80, snow expected north of Highway 20, and the rain expected further south towards Missouri. And then I've got our next question. Matt from Hiawatha wants to know if he has to go into work tomorrow. So Matt, I would ask your boss that question. I wouldn't necessarily ask me that question, but thanks for sending it in anyway. All right, James in Iowa City wants to know when the freezing rain is supposed to end. So we'll continue going through our Pinpoint Futurecast. So we've got Wednesday afternoon, still seeing the icy conditions between Highway 20 and I-80, the snow possible north of Highway 20, the rain further south of I-80, and then starting to gradually clear out by the evening, but still seeing the isolated chances for snow and freezing rain through Thursday night. By Thursday morning, still seeing those flurries really north of Highway 20, then getting into mid to late Thursday, things start to clear out a little bit. All right, I think that's all of the questions. So thanks so much for everyone for joining our YouTube Live. Again, just be very cautious with this storm. Ice storms are not something you want to mess with because ice can oftentimes be slicker and harder to drive in than the snow conditions. So don't underestimate the potential for the icing tomorrow. We'll of course have updates throughout the morning. Kyle will be in at 4:30 giving you updates on your morning commute. But for now, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Again, thank you so much for watching, and Joe will also have updates tonight at 10.